Welcome again to Family Dynamics with Bola. I hope that you sat down with the previous episode on the foundation of marriage, where we talked about the importance of premarital counsel. Today, let's go a little bit deeper, talking about communication. Have you ever noticed that couples don't usually fall apart because they stopped loving each other? Most times, couples fall apart because they stopped understanding each other. And here's the truth: it's not always the words spoken that break the relationship. It's oftentimes the words that were never even spoken. In many African homes, especially for someone like me who grew up in Nigeria, and as a girl child, we were taught to keep quiet, to avoid confrontation, or speak in sarcastic way. Does that happen in your own home too? But most times, silence is not peace. Silence is not love. Silence is oftentimes slow poison in a marriage relationship. I've seen many couples, much more than I can count, who looked very happy to the world, couples goals. But behind closed doors, they live as strangers. Why? Because they stopped talking. Or worse, when they spoke to each other, it was in harsh tones. So today I want us to look at why communication is the lifeline of every relationship and why your words can either build the future that you have planned or break your home, both as a man and as a woman. Someone said communication is the bloodline for every relationship, and I totally agree. Let's talk about the power of words. Words are seeds. Every time you speak to your partner, your spouse, you are planting something in their heart. And just like seeds, those words will grow. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over. The question I want to ask you today is this: are you planting flowers or you're planting thorns in your relationship? What is your word doing in your relationship? I'll share a quick story with you. There's this woman, right? Married for 10 years. Her husband, goodness gracious, loved her to stupor dearly. But anytime she made a mistake, the guy would correct her in front of friends, family members. Why would you do that now when everybody is there? The man, it wasn't emotionally intelligent to understand that this was not, he wasn't reading the room. He thought it was just nothing, right? She did something wrong, we corrected right there and then. But for the woman, when she was sharing with me, every word was a wound to her. She said to me one day, his words hurt me more than any financial struggle we've ever faced. And that's the power of words. You see, gifts would fade. Beauty will fade. It changes. You can go from size 0 to size 12. But the words that we speak to our spouses, it remains in the memory of them forever. So never forget this. We remember the wounds of words far longer than we remember the want of gift. You can give a gift all you want, right? But the words that you speak to your spouse, they would never forget it. I'd like to talk about some of the African communication patterns that, I'd zoom in on Nigeria, but because that's where I grew up, but I know that some of it can apply to other African countries because I've seen quite a lot of people from different other countries, and some of these communication patterns apply to. The first one, we're often taught that silence is respect. When you respect, especially if you're from my tribe in Nigeria, the Yoruba tribe, if you respect an elder, when they are speaking, you keep quiet. And God help you, you are now a woman. As women, we were raised to believe that if you disagree with your husband, Christian woman, it means that you're disrespectful. So most times we swallow the pain and then we keep quiet. But guess what? That silence does not make the problem disappear. It only buries them alive, living, breathing problem. And guess what? Buried problems, because they're living, always resurrect later, oftentimes with more destruction. So we were raised that silence, when you're keeping quiet as a woman of faith, you're not supposed to disagree with your husband. It means you're not being submissive. No, that's actually very wrong. There's a wisdom that you need to apply, but silence is not synonymous to respect. And then another pattern that I've seen over time is men are not supposed to show emotions. And yet we wonder why some of these men are not able to show empathy when they get married. When most men are growing up, they're like, a real man does not cry. A real man does not show this weakness. So most times the men bottle up their emotions, even from their wives. Some cannot truly share what they're going through. Like, I don't feel quite okay. They're not able to do that. But when a man hides his emotion, it's like a closed book. It's hard to build intimacy with a book that you cannot even read, right? You can't build intimacy with a book that you're not able to read. So when a man bottle up all his emotions, he's not able to sleep, but yet he's not communicating that. It's most times the way we were raised as Africans. And then another pattern that I've seen, my goodness, but it's very interesting. Indirect conversations, sarcastic comments. Some couples, they prefer to speak through their family members or friends. Instead of you talking to your spouse directly, darling, I'm not happy with what you did. You'll be hearing it from the in-laws. How are you doing now? Then they will be using indirect conversation to just tell you the things that they've heard. Marriage cannot survive on third-party communication. When you love someone, you should be able to have direct conversation with them. You don't have to go through another person to communicate, especially what you don't like, to your spouse, right? I share a quick story. My cousin, he had lost his job. He couldn't face his wife to tell the wife that he had lost. He was so ashamed. So ashamed. And guess what? He began to get angry at every single thing. He was pulling away from the wife. And the wife was just wondering, what have I done to this guy that he doesn't love me anymore? She didn't really understand what was happening. But eventually, what the guy was now able to tell her is because, there's so much frustration at work. I lost this job. But he wasn't angry at the wife, he was angry at himself. Do you see? He was angry at himself, but it wasn't coming out that way because he never communicated it. The woman had to go through a pain that she was never meant to go through. And, as people of African descent, our culture of respect and pride is so beautiful. It's amazing. But we shouldn't let that kill our honesty and we should not let it silence our vulnerability, especially in marriage. Do we want to talk about the cost of poor communication? Oh my goodness, let's be honest. A lot of couples are not divorced on paper, but they are divorced in their heart. They're no longer one. They live together. Some even raise their children together, attend church together, some minister together, but they are strangers in their home. And it didn't happen overnight. It was all those hurts that were unspoken, all those feelings that were ignored, all the sarcastic comments, the sharp words said in anger, the apology that was not real, that silence, that silence treatment. It was supposed to be for a few minutes, but then minutes to hours, hours to days, until now a wall of distance has grown between them. Most times, couples don't break because of one big thing. That's why when you ask people, okay, what's the cause of this problem? You will find out that even them, they might not be able to say it, right? It's usually not just one big explosion. Most times, couples break because of thousand small, small cracks. And when communication dies, love suffocates because there's no hair. There's no life any longer in that relationship. So here's my question to you. I know this is very vast, and I'll be having people who come share their own stories with us and all that. But here's my question to you. What seeds are you planting in your relationships? Are you planting words of life? Are you planting words that destroy? Are you speaking honestly? Or you're hiding behind that silence? I'm a quiet person, but no, that's not who you are. If you want your marriage or your relationship to breathe again, you must talk. You must listen. You must choose words that heal, not words that wound the other person. Because if they keep feeling wounded by your words, they wouldn't want to talk to you. This is only the beginning, like I said. In the next episode, I'll try and show you how to communicate so that your partner hears you, not just hear you, but then understand, truly understand you. But don't wait for the next session to start practicing. Tonight, when you see your spouse, or today, whatever time it is, say these words to them. Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. And watch how their eyes would light up. Especially men. I'm talking to especially men because women, some of these things are easy for us, right? Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. Communication is the oxygen of love, is the bloodline of any relationship. Without it, love cannot survive. I hope you've been blessed today, and if you feel like your relationship is, looking for a way to breathe, you can always reach out to me for counseling. Let's start talking, let's start healing, let's bring love back to life. This is Family Dynamics with Paula.